For many Australians, creating a family is a life dream. But for those unable to have children, it can be out of reach.
I thought as a gay man, I just thought it was kind of a pipe dream. I never thought it could happen.
Surrogacy in Southeast Asia was once a lifeline for people who could not conceive.
Say hello, Baba!
But it didn't end happily for everyone involved.
ពេលដែលនឹកឃើញអារម្មណ៍ហ្នឹងវាសម័យគឺការគេចាប់យើងពេលដែលកំពុងសម្រាលមានអារម្មណ៍ថាទាំងយើងពោះធំណាគេត្រូវដាក់ច្បាប់ដាក់ខ្មាស់ជើងទូទៅ
Despite surrogacy crackdowns, the demand for a woman's womb is unwavering, leaving many Southeast Asian women vulnerable.
Before, some foreigners come here for the women to have the baby. Now they take women to have baby in another country.
What makes a rightful parent, and what would you risk to become one?
Now, Iris, do you want some orange?
It's Saturday morning in Perth. The kids are up early, and dads Anthony and Joseph are getting ready for weekend sport.
So Les wants to wear that. It's like I think it's called a tennis dress. Seed.
How exclusive.
I like it. I like your style.
7-year-old Iris is the soccer player in the family,
You're dressed.
whilst twin brother Julian likes books and ballet. Older sister Celeste, who's 9, is the artist. But for a long time, this family was just a fantasy.
I didn't think I could have kids.
All right, kids, let's go.
I thought as a gay man there wasn't much of an opportunity for me to have children. And it wasn't until I met Joseph and we got talking and we talked about kids and, I just thought it was kind of a pipe dream. I never thought it could happen.
That's it, Iris. Kick it in, get it up there. You got it.
Their journey to actually creating a family was unorthodox.
We did all the research. We went to speak to a lawyer and just ask for options. And, I wanted to adopt, but it just wasn't viable. I wasn't willing to wait 6 or 7 years to have a child. So I went down into the path of surrogacy.
What did your family and friends think? Were they like, great, go for it? Or what was the conversation?
My family was a bit shocked at first.
There was one example where we were told not to go to a family event with our new baby because it was going to be embarrassing.
But coming up against family was just the first hurdle to having a baby. Australia has a patchwork of surrogacy laws. Commercial surrogacy, where someone is paid to carry a baby, is illegal across Australia. Some states even prohibit engaging in commercial surrogacy overseas. Altruistic surrogacy, where a surrogate makes no profit, is legal. But in Western Australia, Anthony and Joseph still faced barriers.
So altruistic surrogacy is legal in Western Australia for straight couples, straight women, lesbian couples, but not gay men. So we're the only ones that can't go through that process.
That's it.
Their only option to pursue surrogacy was to go abroad, and in 2014 they chose Thailand. From there, it was about choosing a surrogate.
I call them tummy mummies. There are many surrogates. There were many surrogates that were available. Seemed very professional, so they go through all the details about them, who they were, their backgrounds.
Joseph's sister was the egg donor, and Anthony, the biological father.
Well, I went over to do my bit, and it all seemed, very safe.
Within a matter of weeks, they got the news they'd been hoping for. They were pregnant.
And we were over the moon, so happy.
And every week we'd get an update, you know, with little how it was growing and the heartbeat, and it was just like we'd wait for that email when so it was a great time. And that was before baby Gammy hit the news.
Now to a story sparking international headlines. An Australian couple refused to take home their baby from a surrogate mother because the infant had Down syndrome.
It's changed everything in Thailand.
Thailand's made its first move to ban commercial surrogacies in the wake of the baby Gammy scandal.
So the police had shut down the agency, the doctor was arrested, we couldn't get through to anyone, and we were so worried. Our baby's in the womb of this woman, only 4 months into pregnancy, and we were so worried something might happen, something untoward might happen. We couldn't believe someone in Australia, in Western Australia, had done this to their child and abandoned a child over in Thailand, basically ruined it for everyone.
Joseph and Anthony got Celeste out under an amnesty for surrogate babies already in the womb, but they faced judgment along the way.
I guess people asked us hard questions and it made us think about what we were doing. But we had put so much thought into this anyway. Like, it wasn't something that you can just turn around and do.
But once the stress had simmered down and their wider family had fallen in love with baby Celeste, welcoming her with open arms, they questioned if their family was truly complete.
Sure, I still was feeling clucky. You know, I've always wanted Celeste to have siblings to play with. I was willing to try again and risk it, basically.
I thought you were mad. I thought you were crazy after the experience we went through in Thailand to go through the same thing again in, you know, and even a more third world country, I guess.
Sure enough, as one door closed, another opened. A new industry was booming just across the border. I've come to Cambodia to find out how people here have helped foreigners build families, and I'm heading to the outskirts of Phnom Penh to meet with one woman who used to be a surrogate. After Thailand cracked down on surrogacy, many Australians turned to Cambodia in search of a new tummy mummy. The industry here was legal, but relied on women in lower income areas, like here. One woman, Darnette, was working in a garment factory in 2017 when she was approached by a colleague.
គេប្រាប់យើងថាគេមានកន្លែងមួយត្រូវការស្ត្រីពោពោះដើម្បីឲ្យដូចថា
How did you feel about carrying a baby for someone else?
ពេលនោះមានអារម្មណ៍ថារៀងឆ្ងល់ថាមិនក៏គេមិនព្រមប្រពន្ធហើយហេតុអីមិនត្រូវដាក់កូនឬក៏គេយកកូននឹងទៅលក់សួរគេច្រើនណាស់តែគេថាអត់ទេមិនមែនទេពេលខ្លះគេមិនអាចមានកូនបានតិចគេចាប់យើងហើយព្រោះអីយើងបង្កើតកូនឲ្យគេចឹងអីចឹងគេថាអត់អីទេព្រោះអីទូទៅកន្លែងគេហ្នឹងគេធ្វើអញ្ចឹងមកយូរដែរហើយអត់ដែលមានបញ្ហាទេហើយម៉ែឲ្យគេចុះមកយកកូននឹងស្របច្បាប់អីចឹងទៅគេឈប់សួរគេទៀតទេចា
Darnette was told she would be carrying for a Chinese man who used a Russian donor egg. She was also told she would be paid a stipend each month and get $9,000 once the baby was delivered.
យូរទៅតម្លៃក៏សមរម្យហើយគាត់ថាធ្លាប់មានកូនហើយអញ្ចឹងប្រហែលជាមិនអីទេ
But the road to that reward would be more difficult than Darnette anticipated.
ដល់ពេលបែបហ្នឹងហើយគួយតែសុខភាពអីចឹងអូខេទាំងអស់គេឲ្យយើងទៅនៅបូរី
Darnette was forced to stay in a house with around 30 other surrogates for the duration of her pregnancy. The agency running the house only allowed her to leave for brief periods. She says they kept a close eye on the women for health reasons.
អត់លូតលាស់ក៏គេឲ្យយើងតម្លាក់ចេញដែរអញ្ចឹងទី1កូនត្រូវតែលូតលាស់ត្រូវតែដំណើរការទៅមុខបើអត់គឺគេបញ្ចប់ចោលមកអញ្ចឹងបើគេបញ្ចប់ហើយយើងក៏បញ្ចប់ដូចគ្នាដែរ
Hearing little of the outside world, Darnette had no idea that what she was doing would soon be treated as a crime. She was 8 months pregnant when the villa was raided by police. Cambodia had cracked down on surrogacy and made examples of those who were caught in the crossfire. How did you feel when the police came through the door?
យំទាំងអស់គ្នាភ័យពេលហ្នឹងអត់ដឹងធ្វើម៉េចអីគេស្លុកគេស្រែកពេលហ្នឹងភ័យគឺអង្គុយយំមួយហើយសិតតែមានកូនក្នុងពោះទាំងអស់
Danette and the other surrogates were arrested under the notion that surrogacy is a form of human trafficking. They were then held in this military hospital until they were ready to deliver.
ពេលដែលកំពុងសម្រាលមានអារម្មណ៍ថាគេចាក់ជាប់នឹងកែងក្រែពេទ្យហើយគេដាក់អញ្ជើញយើងមានអារម្មណ៍ថាវាធ្ងន់ធ្ងរខ្លាំងអញ្ចឹងណា
It was a traumatic birth.
ពីដំបូងកាលពីអត់ទាន់កើតរៀងមានអារម្មណ៍អត់ចូលចិត្តគាត់ខឹងគាត់ដែរថាហេតុអីមិនមានថ្ងៃហ្នឹងដល់ពេលដែលខ្ញុំកើតគាត់ហើយខ្ញុំមានអារម្មណ៍ថាខ្ញុំបាត់បង់អារម្មណ៍នឹងអស់លេងគឺខ្ញុំស្រឡាញ់គាត់ខ្ញុំមិនដឹងថាវាកើតចេញពីអីទេព្រោះខ្ញុំធ្លាប់មានកូនមួយហើយតែក្តីស្រឡាញ់ខុសគ្នាដាច់ហ្មងអញ្ចឹងអារម្មណ៍ដែលខឹងស្អប់វាបាត់អស់លេងគឺវានៅសល់តែអារម្មណ៍អាណិត
That was the first time Danette saw the baby, but not the last. Her looming criminal charges were dropped on an extraordinary condition.
តុលាការបានដោះលែងខ្ញុំឲ្យខ្ញុំនៅក្រៅឃុំហើយឲ្យខ្ញុំចិញ្ចឹមកូនដោយខ្លួនឯង
Danette agreed to the terms, and inspired by his biological father, she named the boy China.
កុំមើលគាត់បិទភ្នែកចឹងឆ្លក់បាត់លុះចេញមកដោះដៃណែកុំទះកុំមើលគាត់បិទភ្នែកឆ្លក់បាត់លុះចេញមកអត់ចូលច្រមុះឡើយហើយលែងចូលច្រមុះលែងមើលឆ្លក់ខ្ទប់តែអី
Danette never received the money she was promised. Instead, she was left to raise a stranger's child, along with her biological son.
ណាក៏លើម៉ាក់ទិញឲ្យកូនអើសេមើលតសេលេខ1ម៉ាក់សេលេខ1ម៉ាក់មើល1មើលកូនលេខ1លេខ1ណាលេខ1ទៅមកណាកូនឆ្លាតលឿនចេះលេខ6សេមិនលេខ6សេចេះលេខ7
I can see you're doing homework with him. What's the hardest part of raising him on your own?
ការអប់រំពិបាកបំផុតគឺការអប់រំគាត់ជាក្មេងមួយពិបាកខ្លាំងណាគាត់និយាយអត់សូវស្ដាប់យើងអីចឹងណាគ្រូពិបាកខ្លាំងចំណុចហ្នឹងហ្មងគឺអត្តចរិតមិនដឹងប៉កែណោះកូនខ្ញុំកែទេខុសទៀតឡទៅខុសលោកបានតាមានអីណា
He looks different to your other son. Do people make comments?
គេគិតថាគាត់ខុសគេដោយសារតែជាក់ស្ដែងគាត់មិនមែនជាកូនខ្មែរកណាគេចង់លេងអញ្ចឹងតែប្រាប់គេដែរថាពេលខ្លះគុំនិយាយអីអាណិតខ្ញុំហើយគាត់ថាបើមកនិយាយតើយើងគុំនៅពេលខ្លះហាមមួយតែនៅសល់មួយទៀតគេថា
Danette feels like the window for telling China about his background is slowly closing.
ចំណុចហ្នឹងខ្ញុំមិនដឹងថាត្រូវនិយាយមិនឲ្យល្អទាំងអស់គ្នាខ្ញុំគិតថាបើខ្ញុំកុហកគាត់គង់តែគាត់ដឹងទេខ្ញុំចង់ប្រាប់
In the meantime, Danette says she's seen Chinese people around her neighbourhood. She thinks they could be extended family who've come to see what the boy looks like. A reminder of another life he could have lived, and his biological father who lives without him. The intended parent was a Chinese man named Zhu Wenjun. He came to meet his biological son, but shortly after this photo was taken, he was arrested on human trafficking charges for attempting to take him back to China. He was sentenced to 15 years in Cambodian prison. The story of Danette and Wen Jun is a sliding door moment for Australian couple Anthony and Joseph. They were pregnant with twins at the time of the Cambodian crackdown.
One of the more extreme measures that the Cambodian government took during the ban was arresting some of the surrogates and then suspending their jail sentences on the condition that they raise the kids themselves. How does it feel hearing that?
Wow, I did not know there were any cases of that. Yes, surrogates or even intended parents would get arrested, but this is Southeast Asia. Normally you can sort of like wiggle your way.
Influence people, yeah.
Exactly.
I didn't think that they'd be in that situation. Yeah. To me, that's insane.
Yeah.
And now to be responsible for someone that's not their biological child for the rest of their lives is just, I don't know how anyone can do that. Like, that to me is cruel, extremely cruel, both to the surrogate mother and to the parents overseas, but also, of course, to the kid. I just imagine Iris and Julian now in Cambodia.
Anthony and Joseph only narrowly escaped Cambodia's crackdown. On advice from their agent, they chose to smuggle their surrogate out of Cambodia. While Thailand had outlawed surrogacy for locals, she was able to give birth there as a foreigner.
We had to do this in the middle of the night. She had to go over to Thailand at a place, that doesn't have a border crossing, into the north of Thailand, into the jungle from Cambodia.
Flying wasn't an option. So there were reports of officials boarding the plane and basically arresting some of the surrogates.
There were a lot of sleepless nights thinking about it and ensuring that this was the right thing, and there weren't many other options for us. I would have wanted it to be different. It's not ideal, and it's not fun being thousands of kilometres away, unable to communicate with her and assure her that we were doing this for all the right reasons and we were going to look after her. That was tough. It was really tough.
Almost a decade on from the crackdown, there are no specific laws against surrogacy in Cambodia. The government still uses human trafficking laws to enforce the ban. Hearing just how far people will go to build a family, I want to know if the ban really brought numbers down, or if it simply changed the game. Sopira, from local NGO Chabdai, works directly with survivors of human trafficking.
Do you think that Cambodia's surrogacy ban was effective? That it helped keep women safe?
More or less it can help, but the broker and the buyer still find some other ways to trick. For example, if they work in the garment factory, a person approach and persuade that if you go to China, you will get this salary and you can return home whenever you want. But they ended up just providing the sex services to the Chinese family.
China is the main country Cambodian women are trafficked to. Its long-standing one-child policy led to a shortage of women in the country, as parents favoured a boy to continue the family line. As a result, the practice of bride trafficking from across the region has been steadily increasing as more men come of age. But Sopira tells me there's more to it. Most cases of forced marriage he sees are driven by the desire for children.
Before, some foreigners come here for the women to have the baby. Now they take women to have baby in another country.
Coming up, I meet a woman trafficked to China to provide children for a stranger. I'm in Cambodia to find out whether the government's crackdown on surrogacy made some women more vulnerable to being trafficked abroad. A local NGO is connecting me with a survivor, but we have to be discreet. the Cambodian government can be sensitive to the coverage of human trafficking cases. For her safety, we've also agreed to keep the survivor's identity hidden. We'll call her Chan.
Hi.
Chan was working in a garment factory, much like Danette, when she was approached with an enticing offer.
មិត្តភក្តិខ្ញុំគាត់ព្រោះខ្ញុំទៅធ្វើការនៅចិនគាត់ថាឲ្យខ្ញុំទៅ3ខែទៅធ្វើការទៅគីឡូបានប្រាក់ខែដូចគេនាំទៅមុនៗហើយខ្ញុំក៏ទៅតាមគេ
Chan was just 18 years old when she agreed to go.
គាត់ព្រោះយើងដើរលេងមួយយប់ហើយជួយសំណាក់ផ្ទះតំណាក់ឲ្យនៅមួយយប់ក៏គាត់ព្រោះយើងទៅពេលព្រឹកហ្មងវិញទេព្រឹកឡើងគេមានគេឲ្យយកខ្ញុំទៅសំណាក់ឡើងទៅយូនគេអត់ឲ្យប្រាប់ទេទៅអារម្មណ៍ចេះតែភ័យពលក្អួតគេអត់ជួយមើលយើងទេ
It was only on arrival in China, after being locked in a room, that Chan realised she had been trafficked.
មួយខែជាងខ្ញុំគេឲ្យខ្ញុំធ្វើខ្លួនធ្វើអីឲ្យគេថតយកបរោះឲ្យពួកចិនមើល
A Cambodian woman told her she was here to marry a Chinese man.
ហើយខ្ញុំយំគេថាមិនយំទេខ្ញុំភ័យខ្លាចគេនាំធ្វើបាបចឹងណា
After travelling another 5 hours, Chan met her new husband. How did he treat you?
គេធ្វើបាបយើងមិនឲ្យយើងមកដេកមួយគេឆាប់មានកូនចឹងក៏ខ្ញុំធ្វើកែបការថាសម្រាប់យើងមកទៅទៅពេលចឹងក៏គេមើលទៅគេមិនទុកយើងជាប៉ុនទេគេគិតចង់បានកូន
How were you feeling at that time?
អារម្មណ៍ពេលហ្នឹងខ្ញុំគិតថាតាគេនាំយកមកលក់ហើយកម្រអាចបានទៅខ្មែរវិញណាពេលគេនិយាយថាខ្ញុំមានកូននឹងឲ្យទៅខ្មែរអញ្ចឹងណាខ្ញុំក៏ព្រមទៅខ្ញុំមានអារម្មណ៍ថាពេលខ្ញុំពោខ្ញុំមានអារម្មណ៍ភ័យយើងអត់ដែលធ្លាប់មានកូនហើយក៏ដែលមានប្តីពេលមានកូនទៅខ្ញុំមិនដឹងថាម្លាកូនឈឺអត់ទេខ្ញុំជាតែខ្លាចព្រឺខ្លាចអញ្ចឹងណា
Chan gave birth at a local hospital, but for her captor, one child wasn't enough.
រយៈពេលខ្ញុំនឹងហើយក៏ប្តីចិនក៏ចង់បានកូនទៀតអញ្ចឹងតម្រាបានបានខែគេអត់ឲ្យយើងដើរតាណាឲ្យយើងនៅតែក្នុងផ្ទះហើយអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំ
It would be another 4 years until Chan was able to make contact with someone back home. And when she was finally able to escape, she had to leave her 2 children behind in China. Chan's story is harrowing and not an isolated incident. After years of climbing case numbers, the US State Department has branded Cambodia with the worst possible trafficking rating, despite a crackdown on surrogacy claiming to curb it. We contacted the Cambodian government official who led the crackdown and who is responsible for anti-trafficking initiatives, Chu Bun Eng, but she declined an interview. For parents like Anthony and Joseph, the links drawn between surrogacy and human trafficking are extremely confronting. How does it feel hearing a word like that be associated with the process you went through?
It's a dirty word. Like, I don't want to be associated with it, you know, and it's devastating, you know, just to try and link the two.
It's not accurate. At the end of the day, we had a family. It's not accurate to call it human trafficking. It's about giving people who can't have kids an opportunity to have children.
Look how far I can push you.
It's something that happens in Australia. Women do this. The amazing women who give up their womb and have children for other people without any financial return.
But pursuing surrogacy overseas came with a hefty price tag.
So for the 3 children, we spent around 200,000 Australian dollars.
Did you think that this was a mutually beneficial deal, that it was win-win for you and the surrogate?
definitely works for us, but I didn't want to know about the other end.
What do you mean?
As in, like, I know, like, they'll probably get, like, a less amount, obviously, part of the deal, because most of the money will definitely go to the agency.
Anthony and Joseph tried to balance the scales for their surrogate.
A couple of days before we were leaving, just to say final goodbyes, Anthony took her to Chinatown in Bangkok to buy some gold. You know, gold, you can't go wrong with that.
Look, it was fraught. It was something that we really wanted to make sure that we were doing the right thing. We'd had 2 kids. Like, that's an amazing gift for us, and we just wanted to make sure that she was rewarded and that she had she maintained that relationship with us.
And just a bit of time with the twins as well.
Yeah.
So we gave her alone time with the twins to say our goodbyes. We still keep in touch, you know, on Facebook, send her photos here and there.
Knowing what you know now, copping some criticism, going through multiple crackdowns, was it worth it?
Of course it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. We have 3 beautiful children, and I just feel so blessed that we were able to do this in a way that I feel completely confident in, and I'm so happy with the results. It was a journey, and you wonder if you made missteps, but at the end of the day, you did the best that you could. And I think every parent does that. They want to make sure they do the best, not just for their kids, but make sure they have the kids in the right way.
Okay, let's do the moves. What a good dance.
Anthony and Joseph are lobbying to make surrogacy accessible for gay men in Western Australia, to help others like them fulfill their dream of a family.
Surrogacy isn't, say, unnatural, you know. In the end, we still want a family. We still want to provide shelter, love, support for the child. It's no different having a child the other way.